Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I of course am Carl, the host, and today is Super Bowl Sunday, so we will be looking at a machine that is reminiscent of the teams that are playing today. No, there is nothing related to the Chiefs or the 49ers, but we have a red machine to take a look at today, so I have been very excited about bringing that to you. Of course, thank you all for tuning in to the last few weeks. I know I have been a bit busy, but as I said in the last video, we are back to our regular filming schedule, and I do have a cool set that I am going to be looking at for the rest of the month, being as that I started off the month of February with a JCPenneys labeled machine. We're going to continue that for the rest of the month. So we are going to be looking at JCPenneys labeled vacuum cleaners for the month of February. So without further ado, let's get on to today's vacuum. All right, everybody, so what we have to look at today is a very special machine that came out of the 1980s in red, now sporting a Santa Claus look to it. This is the 1982 JCPenney's Model 2665 upright vacuum cleaner. That is the technical name that was given in the ad, and I'll show you the ad right here. As you can see, the ad is in black and white, so very hard to determine what the color is, but after doing all the research and tracing the model number, of course, we found that it did come in this beautiful red, crimson, and white. Now, this particular machine has been known to those in the collector's world as the JCPenney's Decade, or the JCPenney's Deluxe Convertible, or just one of the hardest to find JCPenney's vacuum cleaners that was introduced. Hoover did build this machine for JCPenney's to be sold in their 1982 catalog, and being as that does have the JCPenney's logoing right here, that constitutes a different color for those machines. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, any machines that were privately labeled for JCPenney's, Montgomery Ward's, or what have you, would have been in a different color set than what would have been available through Hoover's main line or Eureka's main lines. Now, this machine was known as the Decade 80 or the JCPenney's Decade 80, mostly because of the way it looks. Now, the Decade 80 was available through Hoover throughout the late 70s, early 80s, and it did come with a myriad of new features that would have been gone on into the concept line. But the big reason why this one looks like that essentially is the hood. Now, the hood is what I like to call the hammerhead hood because it does jut out on each side to achieve a wider cleaning swath, so you could get a lot more done rather than just the littler convertible or Eureka face. So that was the big reason why. Of course, it did still have the one-piece wraparound headlight in the front, as well as the height adjustment window up here on top of the hood. In addition to that, the Decade 80 did also have a box top type bag on the top. It was a plastic bag topper, but the difference being that the Decade 80 would have had a cartridge that you could put a little air freshener tablet in. That way that when the exhaust was coming out through the bag, you would have been able to have a fresh air scent rather than just dirty air, I guess, what you would call it. Now, the reason why that this is called a deluxe convertible rather than a Decade 80 really goes into the motor as well as the switch. Now, this has just a single speed motor, whereas the Decade 80 had something called the Power Surge. The Power Surge, for those that don't know, essentially was a two-speed setup where you would have your on-off, but then if you needed a little more oomph, you could push the switch down just a little bit more into a different notch, and it would give you just a little bit more power. This machine unfortunately does not have that, but you still got a box top type bag. You still got the 4-position height adjustment, as well as your wraparound headlight, and it looked like a Decade 80. So, you know, if you did still want to get a deluxe looking upright, you still could through JCPenneys. It just would have a few things that the Hoover had. Now, the reason why I call this one of the rarest JCPenney uprights is really because not many of these have been found. Now, this was the highest price upright that you could have bought from JCPenney's in 1982, minus things like the Concept 1, but this particular model was not very well received, I can tell, because about 4 have been found to this day. This machine actually had quite a story itself. Now, I have technically had 2 of these machines. I actually used to own this particular model right here. It is actually going to Jared. Mine is actually sitting in Kansas awaiting for me to bring it home in April, but this one used to be mine before Jay passed away, and with mine and Jay's, that was 2, and then aside from those 2, there was one that was known to exist that was in the Hoover vault, so that was serial number 1, and I believe there was one other that another collector had that was from the Midwest. So about 4 have been known to exist, making this one of the most rare JCPenney's uprights. Now, this currently, like I said, is going to be going off to Jared. The story behind it is essentially Mitchell Armstrong here on YouTube. He found it on a Facebook post from another collector who found it at a Goodwill. It was sitting there. He purchased it, and Mitchell paid the gentleman for it, had it shipped over to Washington. Well, I very much wanted it and did want to make it a part of my collection, so me and Mitchell arranged a deal. I got it from him and held on to it up until about 2021, so just a couple years back now. Well, I did not need 2 after I inherited Jay's collection, so I sold it to Mitchell. Well, Mitchell held on to it for, of course, a couple more years. So the next time I go down to see Jared, this machine will be coming with me, and I will bestow it upon him. So I am looking forward to getting it down to him. He is, of course, very much looking forward to getting this machine, and I'm glad it is going to another local collector. So, but either way, this rare machine will live on, and it, of course, will enjoy a retirement. But either way, let's get on to our run demo for today and see how it performs. Okay. And there we have it. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed our little video we did today on the 1982 JCPenney's 2665. It is a very, very cool machine, and I do kind of miss it being in my collection, but either way, I'm glad it is going on to a new home, and I do look forward to getting mine after we get back from Kansas. But it is really a cool machine. I'm really happy for Jared for making that deal to get this one. So either way, thank you all for watching today. Of course, tune in next week and we will take a look at another one. So have a great rest of your week, y'all, and we'll see you next Sunday.